Alrighty, now after I did that twice, we're there. I'm finally good to go.
Yeah, we're gonna do it, King.
Yeah, King, we gotta go. No, wait, no, the King would be Morty and Link would be Rick. No, Link would be Morty and the King would be Rick. Damn it. Never mind.
Oh gosh, King of Red Lions.
Link, you gotta shoot the squid, Link. I do a terrible Morty.
Just a little too off center.
Not that up, not that left, the other left.
I like the sound that thing makes when you put it down. It's like this really hollow tin sound.
He's like, yeah, I think the boomerang does something similar.
So, what's this dungeon's
Temple of the
gimmick
Gods.
exactly? Oh, boxes. Okay, wonderful.
Great. Yep.
Asgard!
Putting things on things. It's almost like playing Ultima 7, only not. Only the combat's better. That's what I should have said.
Oh boy, I sure hope that box doesn't drift left or right while
No,
the waters rise.
it stays.
Yeah, it does stay. Remarkably, it stays.
Asgard!
Rainbow Bridge. Funny, I remember the last time I had to do this took 7 stages.
Technology's improved greatly in the land of Hyrule.
I assume the water doesn't go up or down while you're carrying this thing?
Nope, it does.
Oh, so if you fall and you're carrying this thing, you're fucked.
You have to leave the room and come back. Yep.
So the Tower of the Gods leads to Hyrule Castle, is it? Or am I thinking of a
It
different...
opens the way to Hyrule Castle. Yes.
Okay.
So you have to go up in order to go down.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's either really stupid or it's symbolic for something.
Why not both?
It usually is both when it's the second one.
Yeah, isn't that the whole premise of God of War 2? You're climbing up and then you go all the way down.
And then you climb up again in the next game.
I am honestly looking forward to a God of War game for the first time since the first one. Now that Dad of War has been shown.
It did look interesting.
I liked the first one, and you know, to an extent, I love the second one for its more varied gameplay. But it's just a series that never really held my attention after that point.
God of War has always looked fun, but I've never been able to get past the kind of 90s Image Comics-ness
It is.
of it.
Oh yeah, it is. It is great fun. It is one of the most consistently good action games out there, but it's also consistently similar. You know, it has that Ratchet and Clank problem of there being a lot of games without much innovation in the middle.
If one doesn't convince you, the other one will.
Yeah.
And then again, though, I think God of War gets away with it a little bit better than Ratchet and Clank because God of War has 3 games plus, like, maybe 2 or 3
spin-offs.
2 spin-offs, whereas Ratchet and Clank has, like, 10 games? And granted, I do want to play Ratchet and Clank. I hear the games are fun. And it does. And out of all of the Sony platformers, Ratchet and Clank is really the only one that catches my interest. But
Yeah.
Wait, is there, were there 2 PSP games for the God of War?
I think so.
there was at
There's
least
Chains of Olympus.
there was at least one, I know for sure.
There's also Ascension, which was the other PS3 game.
Yeah. It's just, you know, I'm looking forward to them, you know, trying a fresh take on things.
It's also been a while since God of War 3, so...
That and, well, you know, Dad of War actually looks like a vaguely relatable character for a change, which is nice. I mean, you can be relatable and kick ass at the same
That's
time.
probably why they did it. You know, Kratos, for as badass as he is kind of a despicable human being.
Yeah. You know, if you can slip in just as much murder and gore, but still make him a likable character, that's a pretty
But
goddamn.
then he'd be Dante.
Well, well, Dante is less likable because he's relatable and more because he just has an easygoing attitude to him. Although, now that I think about it, even though Dante is completely ridiculous, he does have a bit more character development than Kratos does. At least in Devil May Cry 3. When you think about it, Dante's initial motivation was basically the same as Kratos. Vengeance!
I'm Batman.
Link, you majorly whiffed. Also, you didn't so much as throw that boomerang, but hit him in the face with it.
I like that point blank boomerang smack. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I like how the stairs dramatically materialize, but then the water just rises, so you don't have to climb them.
Go
You
down.
really want the goodies inside that orb.
Yeah.
Well, he needs the money. Oh, you get mostly chew drops.
Oh well.
Well, that's
It's
it depends
worth
on what color
checking.
the orb is.
He got the snot, yeah.
Oh, so it's one of those things that you have to time when you hit it.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, I wasn't doing anything for the next minute.
Whew.
96 bottles of beer. Oh, stop. Like he just calls you on your rock phone.
Oh man, I love how water just disappears through the ground.
It's like kick-ass draining system. Well, there are vents in the floor.
Yeah.
I believe Twilight Princess, in most games that do this kind of thing afterward, would have like the water be like foot deep in those kinds of rooms. Just to avoid a little quirk like that. And granted, I'm not
Yeah.
really bitching about it because this game's from like 2003. So, you know.
The problem with that in this game is that the water doesn't have any transparency effect. So
Yeah.
the water needs to be gone for you to tell that the floor is there.
Yeah, and that's just a side effect of the art style.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's dripping because he's wet. So realistic.
Like you be dripping.
Give it 10 more years. We'll be promoting realistic fish AI.
Is this the only dungeon in the game where you have to use the boat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
And once I go up these stairs, we won't use them again.
Yeah, it's just this one entry chamber.
Oh!
I think the water portion of the dungeon is just on this first floor.
Sounds like
Yep.
this. You wish you can use your grappling hook to climb ledges.
I guess they decided they didn't need a full-on water dungeon since the entire game is a water dungeon.
Yay.
Mr. Miyamoto, we've been thinking, we've done fire dungeon, wood dungeon, water dungeon too many times. Can't we, take a break from that?
Miyamoto, people really didn't like the water dungeon. Give them another water dungeon. Great Bay Temple and Majora's Mask. Now people are even more angry. Give them more water.
Make them eat their veggies and drink their water.
Yeah.
These 3 buttons would be a cinch if I had my eulogy of emptiness. Or elegy of emptiness, whatever it was in Majora's Mask.
What's that do?
The one where you make the statues of yourself.
Yeah, the
Oh.
terrifying statues.
No, I would say the Zora and the Goron statues were... No, they're all terrifying. No, the Deku statue wasn't terrifying. It was more kind of sad.
Now that I think about it, I think the Tower of the Gods was one of the dungeons that I had the most fun with when I was playing the game.
Well, it's the most kind of traditional Zelda one. Because it's really just room with puzzle, next room with puzzle, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still not brain taxing. And again, we'll say, I'll stress again as we discussed, Wind Waker is one of the easier 3D Zelda games.
Yeah, this is easily kind of like, aside from maybe this.
I would say the easiest.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's probably the easiest Zelda to start with, aside from the sailing.
Well, puzzles and hard puzzles. You don't necessarily need to have really brain-taxing puzzles for them to be engaging. They just need to be not totally brain-dead.
I would say the kind of puzzle determines difficulty. Like, if it was very heavy on, say, cause and effect. Like, we had to get our fucking Rube Goldberg machine on this shit. Then that could make for a challenging dungeon.
Oh, my pet rock is following me.
I love it. I'm going to call it Rocky.
What would you say is the hardest 3D Zelda game, then? Because I think the combat in Twilight
Probably
Princess...
Twilight Princess, really.
I would say the Twilight Princess, I think, is pretty consistent in dungeon design, which is why I think that's the one thing everyone praises about that game. But in terms of difficulty,
Well,
I would say Majora's Mask.
well, Majora's Mask is one of the harder ones, but in terms of Twilight Princess, you're not going to die a lot, but the puzzles are very tricky. I spent a lot of time thinking about what you're supposed to do in that game.
Yeah, Snow Peak is a pain in the ass the first time.
and even greater exemplified if you're going for after all the. I think it also helps if you. It adds to the challenge if you're deliberately going after all the great fairies.
Snow Peak is the one where you get the ball and chain, right?
Yeah.
I like that dungeon. It kind of stood out to me.
It's a good dungeon, but if we want to talk about hard things in Zelda, that second snowboarding race can go fuck itself. She cheats. She goddamn cheats. There's no other way to describe it.
Rubber band
Be cool,
AI.
be wild, be my boy. Nope. Stupid pots.
I see someone doesn't have an appreciation for the fine culture.
Culture? We learned our new song.
Yes, voice in my head. I shall conduct as you please.
Leopold.
Leopold, Leopold, Leopold.
The command melody is unfortunately one of those things that you can only use in very specific locations in the game. Usually in this dungeon itself. So it's...
That's annoying. Like, my favorite Zelda items are the ones that give you multiple utilities. Like, not necessarily just in dungeons.
No, you use this song again in the next 2 dungeons.
Yeah, but if it's...
That's why I liked the ball and chain item, actually.
Yeah, because you could use it for puzzles, but it also kicked ass against certain enemies as well.
Yeah, it had multiple layers of utility, whereas a lot of the items in 3D Zelda in general are used in very specific ways on very specific things.
Yeah, Twilight Princess has a lot of that because there's both the spinner and the what's it called, Dominion Rod, which are very you use them for one dungeon and maybe like 2 or 3 hard pieces and then never again.
The Dominion Rod is completely useless.
It's kind of the same thing as the 3D Mario thing. It's like the power-ups are cool when you have them, but they're very situational.
You're not using them for anything else besides what they were intended for.
It's not the same magic as picking up a fire flower and going nuts with it in the classic games.
I feel like it's less of a problem in 3D Mario, though, because that game is stage-based and you expect things to be sectioned off a little bit, whereas it's a tool that you could use at any time in Zelda. So I don't know. It's the same issue. I just feel like it's slightly less of a problem.
Yeah, it's less of a problem, and Mario had its own openness to compensate for that, whereas 3D Zelda tended to be, ironically, more linear than 3D Mario in its way.
Also, this is like an early version of the Dominion Rod, since we're talking about it. Kinda.
Yeah, basically.
Was Dominion Rod Spirit Track?
No, Dominion
No, Twilight
Rod.
Princess.
It's one of the last, like the Temple of Time, I think, is what it was where you got it.
Temple of Time, you use it to smack the
I'm
spider.
I'm thinking Spirit Tracks or Phantom Hourglass because you can control golems in that and get them to where you want.
That always happens. You always just put it down like 1 pixel too far to the right.
I loved what they did with the curse bubbles in this game. The flaming skeletons, essentially. There's more than one variety in this game.
Yeah, the ones we fought in this
that
room were just the generic fire ones.
Yeah, and then there's the other ones that can curse you. And I just love when they hit you because they laugh like fucking Saturday morning cartoon villains.
You know what confuses me about the grappling hook? Like, you can swing to your heart's content and it won't let go, but at some point it just knows when you want to jump.
Dark nuts.
Or are they Iron Knuckles?
They're dark nuts.
Like, there's literally no difference between the two. Other
Wow.
than their health.
They're called dark nuts in this game.
That's actually kind of impressive. There's a fuck me X on his back where you can hit him.
Given to them at birth.
Might as well just be a kick me sign.
And they also wear kitchen aprons underneath their armor.
I preferred when sexy women were hiding under the armor.
These guys are supposed to be tough.
I think the game with the hardest Dark Nuts / Iron Knuckles is probably Twilight Princess.
No, Zelda 1.
Zelda 1.
Yeah, Zelda
okay,
1.
Okay, sorry, forgot about that one. Yeah, Zelda 1.
Zelda 1, Zelda 2, borderline, depending on the Iron Knuckle.
It's weird. I considered 3D Zelda and 2D Zelda feel like 2 completely different types of game to me. Like, even more so than almost every other 2D to 3D transition. Like, I don't know, because honestly, in terms of the transition from 2D to 3D, Zelda it's pretty similar gameplay-wise. It's just when I'm thinking of 3D Zelda, I think exclusively of 3D Zelda. And when I think of 2D games, I think exclusively of 2D games. I don't cross over those thought trains at all.
It's because of the things you can do with that added dimension. It's the reason why I just said Dark Nuts or Iron Knuckles are hardest in 2D games, because you don't have that third dimension to sideswipe their attacks. You have to deal with them, and you have to attack them head on.